Hello, I'm Dave.
Hello, I'm Mark.
I'm Richard.
I'm Rob, and welcome to Christmas in Machete Town, the 4 mega Doctor Who podcasting come bearing audio gifts suitable for the festive season. Listen closely as 42 to Doomsday returns to help celebrate all things Yule with you godless pagans. And you should be thankful for the gifts we bring. Now that all those pesky teenagers have been liberated from the curse of social media and are using all that spare time to rampage through the shopping centres of your local burgs, you adults left cowering in your bunkers have need of entertainment that we bring to you. Fear not, though, as Richard, Dave, Mark and myself stand resolute at the commanding heights of Dave's equivalent of Mordor, where, Sauron-like, we stare with a fierce unblinking eye on all things Doctor Who, which includes cliffhangers. That's right, feel the suspense as we dive deep into our top cliffhangers. Shovel in mouthfuls of Christmas pudding, then grease up on turkey fat while we tell you what makes a good cliffhanger, what makes a bad one, and really, how do you leave the audience hanging? It's an eggnog apocalypse with our book club readathon, where we examine in intricate detail the scribblings of well-known Karl Marx fanboy Gareth Roberts. Gorge yourselves on reindeer roast as we muck out the frankly disgusting stables of Doctor Who's 2025 lowlights in the welcome return of Fanwank of the Year award. While Santa has been drawing up his naughty and nice list, we too have been drawing up our own list of Doctor Who depravities. Pro tip, RTD is going down. So while your brats refuse your piteous pleas to throw that wrapping paper in a fucking bin, chug some more festive brandy, sit back and hold on, because this is the 42 to Doomsday Christmas Special.
See, that's what you guys are missing.
So our first topic of the episode is cliffhangers in Doctor Who. After a series of increasingly arcane WhatsApp messages, we've divided the topics into cliffhangers that reveal, cliffhangers that are game changers, and cliffhangers that make you go wow, and also cliffhangers that meet the definition of peril. We've got top 4 good ones,
Yes.
and then just one, just to salt it up nicely.
Only one.
Only one, bad cliffhanger. So I think we'll just go around the group.
Absolutely.
And do 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we'll see how we go. Young Dave.
Oh, thank you, Rob. Pleasure, as always, to be here and the 42 to Doomsday Christmas Special. And great to have you all here at Camp David.
Or Mordor, apparently.
Apparently. I've been given game changer cliffhangers, which I have a long list of options, and I can potentially share the runners afterwards. But my definitive list, number 4 game changer cliffhanger. You've got the Doctor, you've got Jamie, you've got Zoe. They're exploring World War One, but it's not World War One. Something strange is going on. And then there's some strange machinery, and the general's not what you thought it was. So it's all going to be an interesting sci-fi special. Then all of a sudden, Roman soldiers are coming over the hill. If that's not a game changer, I don't know what is. It completely throws the War Games at the end of Part 2 into a completely different direction. I think now we sort of take for granted that the War Games is what it is, and it's a 10-part epic, but at the time, when you think that this is a sci-fi based World War One type story and suddenly there are Roman soldiers, that must be a complete game changer.
Absolutely, and especially with the Master now appearing in it.
We don't talk about that.
Na canon, lanon. Yeah, that's a very good choice, Dave. Actually, I like that.
Very
Very
well,
much.
it's good essential Doctor Who, isn't it, really, in terms
Yeah.
of you've got different genres smashing together
Yes.
to the audience's delight.
Yes, very good.
Fuck.
Now, this is my top 4 wow moments, and the way I've compiled this is based on what made an impact to me when I was young and happy. So what we're going to do, the first one is number 4, and ironically, it's actually Inferno episode 4. So, kids, it's 1986, and the Australian taxpayer dollar's been put to very good use when the ABC decides to buy a vast amount of out-of-Doctor repeats. To show at 6:30pm, we've started off with the Mind Robber and Crotons, thank God it's not the Dominators, and then straight into the Pertwees. Now, usually we're sort of used to watching the Solarians, and then it would go straight to, say, Raybot. Continually, for 6 months. However, this time round, we had Ambassadors of Death and then Inferno. Cliffhanger on this particular episode is really effective. The Doctor confronts Director Stallman, that holds him at gunpoint as the drill nears the Earth's core. Whilst the countdown is obviously reaching to 0, there's no music, thank God. Deadly Dudley is away from the thing, so no zings and things like that. So the sound... Thank you very much. The sound effects are rising, the drill noise, the countdown, it's absolutely brilliant. Yep. I'm not too sure who directed that cliffhanger. Was it Letts or Camfield? I don't care who it was. was, but it's brilliant. Yeah, that was my number 4. So
That's an excellent one.
That is a great cliffhanger, that one.
it is very good.
Very good. Well, we all know that Inferno was very good, so.
We do.
Yes.
We do. Yeah.
Right.
Ricardo.
Now, I got the topic of reveal. Yes.
How many of them are Terry Nation Part 1s?
Well, actually, maybe one. We will see as this unfolds. For my first one, I've actually gone, it's a Tom Baker story, and I've actually gone for Part 1 of The Face of Evil.
Ooh.
Or the...
Day That God Went Mad.
Yes.
Much better title.
Yes. I can see why they didn't use it, though. Yes, where we suddenly discover that the Doctor is the evil one.
Yeah.
Yes, and I do remember as what I'd have been about an 8 or 9 year old. And I probably didn't get a lot out of The Face of Evil when I was that young, because once you sort of move into the second part of the story, and it actually...
Drags.
Well, I was more going to say, for a younger viewer, there's probably not a lot there really to involve yourself with. There's no real exciting explosions or monsters or anything.
It drags.
But I do remember sort of being like, oh, it's the Doctor, when they showed it. So, and I do think it is actually, watching it as an adult, that is a great story.
Yes.
And that is a very good reveal. Yeah. So, yes, that's my number 4.
That's a really good choice. I like that, yeah. That's great.
Very good. I was given the honour of doing the perilous cliffhangers. So the definition of peril is broadly exposure to risk or harm, according to the dictionary that I looked up at work last week. So safe line all behind the couch, the audience is thrilled at the perilous cliffhanger comes from the moment of danger itself, where your fan favourite characters are placed into, well, basically danger.
Dragonfly Part 1.
Exactly. Now, the perilous cliffhanger in Doctor Who has a noble and long lineage. It's a good word, lineage, just keep that in mind. So my first choice is the cliffhanger to episode 1 of the Daleks / the mutants / the whatever, the scrap of paper on Verity Lambert's office floor had scribbled on it. Poor old Barbara, thrust from the comfort of home, taken away, essentially kidnapped by the Doctor, and taken beyond the limits of her understanding to an alien city, cold, silent, malevolent. There, after stumbling around in confusion and mounting fear, she's confronted by something that she can never hope to understand. An alien sink plunger. It is a moment of peril. We don't know what the hell's going on. She clearly doesn't know what's going on. Anything could be happening, but taken away from home into this strange, nasty-looking place. There's this thing in her face. It's no good.
So that's actually a snap. Yes, and I took it more, yes, there is the whole story. I took it more because this, I think, what the hell is it? This arguably is the moment probably Doctor Who gets the shot in the arm. Yes. It needs to make it a cultural phenomenon for the next 60-odd years.
Yeah.
It is a pretty good cliffhanger in and of itself. I do remember when I showed the Daleks or the mutants or whatever you want to call it.
It's the Daleks, let's just be clear.
Okay, well, it's the Daleks, fine. When I showed that, when I was sitting with my young son and we were watching some Doctor Who when he was little, he sort of did the, oh, what is it? When the credits started to roll. So, look, it had the desired effect even 50-odd years later.
Yes.
Yeah, he was a little underwhelmed perhaps as we got into the back half of the story, but he did think the stuff with the Daleks in the city for the first 2 or 3 episodes was really quite gripping. So,
it is good, yeah.
Yes. Yes, he found what would have been the second VHS tape probably a little underwhelming, but anyway, so yes, that was one of mine, but that is a very good choice, Rob.
Very good.
Good stuff. Excellent.
All right, we move back to Dave.
Yes, so back to Game Changer Cliffhangers. This one now, please feel free to join in with music when I get to the appropriate spot. You all know it. We've had an adventure. It's been 4 episodes. We all think that everything's wrapped up nice and neatly. The Doctor turns around and reassuringly says, "At last the future of Gallifrey is assured." What are you looking at? And there are Sontarans there, and suddenly the story isn't over. It's going in a whole new direction. One of the classic Doctor Who monsters is there. That is of course, the Invasion of Time Part 4.
Good job. That's actually very, very good,
I strongly remember the revelation at that point when I first saw Invasion.
Absolutely. Again, when you're young, you don't really know how many episodes are in a season, or the fact that this one's supposed to have 6 parts, so we're not there yet.
Probably should have stopped that at Part 4.
Which one is Doctor?
Which one's Doctor? You know, yeah.
But yeah, I do remember as a kid being really like, oh gee, when that kicked in. Yeah, that was a real bait and switch.
It's really good.
That was really good.
Good choice.
Yeah,
good choice,
good
DK.
choice.
Excellent. Well, speaking of excellent, Earthshock Part 1. In Australia, it felt like the Cybermen never left our screens. Mainly because the ABC kept showing Revenge of the Cybermen every 6 months. And at the time, I wasn't plugged into fandom at all. I wasn't buying Doctor Who monthly. So in May 1982, Richard, I was shocked. In fact, I was shocked.
Hey!
The reveal of the Top Gun version Cyber Leader and Lieutenant was brief, but with the booming voice of the excellent David Banks saying, destroy them at once, was a masterstroke of J&T for keeping their appearance and surprise, and I loved their new look at the time, and that made a massive impact on me. In fact, so much, I remember walking home from school, had a little laneway, and I would go, oh my god, Simon, they're coming after me. That's how great they were.
My army grows,
My
Doctor!
army, yeah, brilliant stuff. I don't care what they say, I love her shot.
It is a great one. It is a great story.
Yeah.
Well, you've stiffed me again.
You should have prepared more then.
I have got another list. I can take one off my silly list if you want.
What have you got about her shot?
No, well, I had, again, for much the same reason as you, I didn't know that the Cybermen were back. I wasn't reading DWM or anything like that at the time. Yeah. And I do remember just when it cuts to I was like, oh, is that Cybermen?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Yes, because I was a big fan of Revenge of the Cybermen.
Well, we saw it a lot.
Yeah,
So.
and having read the earlier novels and stuff, I actually really liked the Cybermen as monsters. So I do remember I was really, really excited when they came back, and it was that was a great cliffhanger. Now that I know more about fandom, J&T did an excellent job keeping them under wraps.
The Radio Times offered him a cover. He said, "Yeah, well done, J&T."
A lot of modern television these days could learn from keeping away from publicity and just allowing the audience to experience the episode in the moment without knowing everything to the nth degree. Before you start watching it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Right, well, my next perilous cliffhanger, let me just read this out. My next choice takes us to 1975. It's cold, it's dark, it's grim.
It's Victoria.
In other words, it's another day in the British Isles. Seriously, people, why aren't more of you immigrating to this lovely country, Australia? Anyway,
I have.
At this time, Peter Sutcliffe has begun cutting a bloody swathe through West Yorkshire.
Right.
The fictional events of Haddonfield are an ocean 3 years away, and while Black Christmas may have set the template, the planet of evil, in my humble view, Doctor Who's first and only attempt to bring the soon-to-be burgeoning industry of the slasher horror movies to UK TV. I mean, the people who are dying, they've been picked off, that sort of thing. So whether it actually does that successfully or not is another matter. There's a view that the back half of the story collapses under the weight of a narrative running out of steam, and all the money being blown on that, frankly, lovely jungle studio set. But there is an eerie atmosphere over all of it that does sort of lend to the perilous nature of my next choice, which is episode 3. The cliffhanger to episode 3.
Oh,
where
yes.
the Doctor and Sarah are being stuffed into the ejection bays.
Yes.
So this scene still gives me chills. Salamar has lost the plot and straps the Doctor and Sarah into the ejector bays.
Yeah.
Imagine the summary justice being dispensed on you without representation, without the chance to argue your case. You're stuffed into essentially a space coffin, trapped and unable to escape. Your effort to persuade your executioner to see reason fails. Then the waiting, the endless tension of waiting for the capsule to close, for the other doors to open, for your body to be hurtled into a freezing, airless void. Your terrible last efforts to live just a few seconds longer, the pressure of your held breath inexorably rising, stars bursting in your eyes, your brain cells dying in the tens of millions as the hovering darkness begins to overwhelm you.
I think you've put a bit too much thought into this,
have.
Rob.
It's just, when you think about it, it's just terrible. It's danger, it's immediate danger with the threat of death hanging over you. So for that, and it still haunts me. So that's my choice.
I think it's worth saying that Dave Maloney is probably one director who really, really got cliffhangers.
Yes.
I think he's got a lot of in there, particularly the infamous David Maloney freeze frame cliffhangers, which he uses quite more than you realise.
He did Genesis, he did that, and he did Deadly Assassin. Yeah. Thank you, young Rob, young Dave. How's it going?
So my number 2 game changer cliffhanger, very, very simple. It's a TARDIS. The monk's got a TARDIS.
Ah, yes.
So the Time Meddler Part 3. Again, one that perhaps nowadays doesn't seem that big a deal, but if you've been watching Doctor Who for a full 2 years at this moment, and suddenly somebody else has got a TARDIS, that's a huge big deal. It's a game changer not just for the story, where suddenly the monk's one of the Doctor's own people, but it's actually a game changer for the whole series. I think that it's a shame for the show it doesn't come in maybe an episode earlier, but it's still a really incredible game changer moment.
Absolutely, that's a good choice, actually. Yeah,
very good.
Good story, that too. Excellent. Okay, my next one is Remembrance of the Daleks Part 1. Unlike now, where the series is completely DEDD in my eyes, back in 1988, my faith in the show is sorely being tested. Having received and watched off-site backups of seasons 23 and 24 from Old Blighty, I couldn't believe how far and quickly the show had sunk from the highs of season 21 and, for its faults, season 22. Paradise Tales Part 3 was actually the first time I'd pressed a stop on a tape, even though there was another 8 minutes of running time remaining. And when the ABC did eventually screen season 24 in 1988, I did decide to give it another go. And yes, despite Dragonfire being vaguely okay, it's a pretty dire season. Now, unbeknownst to Australian fandom, the host of the afternoon show, James Valentine, had put forward the idea of showing the first story of season 25 to coincide with the show's 25th anniversary. So on the 5th of October 1988, episode 1 of Remembrance screened. And for the first time in a while, I watched it live. My dad was sitting with me, we were watching it together. And I was really worried about two things. Firstly, what the hell the story is going to be like. And secondly, what shit is he going to give me after it? But wow, what a turnaround. McCoy being doctorish and the rapport obviously with Sophie Aldred. But that cliffhanger of the Dalek rising up the stairs was the first genuine oh my god moment I'd felt in a long, long time with the series. And if you remember, it was actually shown on a Thursday night. So you have to wait the whole weekend and be ready on the Monday to watch it. And I actually couldn't wait to see what happened next. So that to me was an absolute stonking cliffhanger.
And you hadn't been successful, obviously, in getting a copy over from Blighty at that point?
No, they used to basically do 7 episodes and send the tape over, so that was okay.
Well, as we've discussed, and probably for a slightly different reason, I do remember I was actually eternally grateful to the ABC for putting Remembrance on at the end of season 24, because, as I said, I probably would have stopped watching Doctor Who at that point. I think I was really disappointed with season 24 when I watched it. My turn-off moment came during Delta and the Bannermen.
Oh, yes.
But, but I did watch Remembrance and suddenly everything was okay again.
Yes.
It was a very good story.
It was.
It was a good story.
The show is capable of regenerating itself, in that manner.
It was.
Yeah. Richard?
Well, seeing as I've had 2 of my choices kicked out from under me, this would now be my second. Now, I did have a note when I put Earthshock Part 1. I did also have a note for Moonbase 1 and 10th Planet Part 1, because they are both reveals of the Cybermen without knowing they're coming, really, because everything else is of the Cybermen. So, much like everything is of the Daleks, so you kind of know what you're getting into.
Yeah, with an R.
But I imagine watching 10th Planet 4 for the first time. They do that slow pan up after the Cybermen's just killed the Snowcat-based personnel.
Yeah.
I think there would have been a real, what is that type moment. And really, I guess the Moonbase probably is maybe the last time, perhaps, that really the Cybermen are the shock reveal, other than Earthshock, for the end of the story, because it's Tomb of the Cybermen. I guess there's a wheel in space, but...
Silver Nemesis.
Yes. Yeah, but that's crap. Nobody cares.
Tell me what you really think.
Having said that, I do know someone who reckons Silver Nemesis for about the first episode and a half. Hello, Dave, if you're listening. That it was as good as Doctor Who gets. But there you go.
Well, every opinion's valid, Every opinion is
that's
valid,
true.
even though it's completely wrong.
That's true. Happy times and places. Everybody has their favourite parts of Doctor Who.
Absolutely. Rob?
Yes. Well, mine... No need for preamble. It is episode 3 of The Caves of Androzani.
Yay! Hashtag real Doctor Who!
Rob Irwin is sighing with relief. Well, look, it's all there, isn't it, really? There's Davo, he's dying, Spectrox toxemia.
Yep.
There's Stotsy screaming blue murder at him through the gap in the door. The space vehicle is plunging towards Androzani Minor. There's that final line from Davo, classic. It's a moment of peril in every sort of direction. Really, and it's, when you think about it, Androzani has part 1, great cliffhanger. Part 2, I can't remember. Part 3 is great, and of course the regeneration scene.
Not great.
Well, 4 comes later, Mark, but
Yeah. To be continued.
To be continued. No, it is. Look, that shot, that last, there's the over the shoulder shot over Stotts' shoulder through into the control room. Yeah. The music works. Davo's performance, he's got it with both hands. It's excellent. It's really good.
And it's such a bloodthirsty story that you actually believe that anything can happen.
Yes, exactly.
Very good. Good choice.
So my number 1 game changer, and I'll give you my honourable mentions after we finish our list, but my number 1 game changer, I think was quite predictable for those who know me. It is, of course, the Ark Part 2.
Oh, yes.
This is, again, we're going back to the early years of the show, Season 3. We've had an adventure. It's been 2 episodes. Again, we don't know that more's coming. We think that we've sorted out this thing with the future of humanity and the plague, and it's all good. They go away, they go into the TARDIS, they rematerialise, they come back, and the statue. They finish the statue. We know that's going to take 700 years. It means we know that humanity is going to be at their final destination. It refuses, but we pan up, and it's the head of a monoid. So suddenly we've got a whole new story, a whole new direction, and it's a complete game changer. And again, I think watching it at the time, that would have been a complete wow moment.
Yeah, it's actually very good, isn't it? And it leaves that whole time travel paradox very well.
Well, it's very, very rare that Doctor Who actually uses time travel, particularly in the classic series.
Yes.
Even
as a plot point.
As a plot point, yeah. So
Yeah.
I think it's actually really, really good.
Excellent. That's a very good choice, actually.
Very good choice.
Very good choice.
And they reused it for Planet of the Apes. The less said about that one, the better.
Move on. Yes, move on.
Oh, Mark, number 1.
Now,
With a bullet.
In the head.
I'm going to shock you guys. I'm actually going to nominate a new series one. Yeah,
Get out.
I know.
Nurse,
I'll
get them with that.
have a G&T before I get
Who are
it.
you and where is the real Mark?
I'm actually going to say the
We've
Stolen
got an
Earth.
evil robot replica.
Yeah, he doesn't look anything like him. Yeah, like the Chase. It's actually Stolen Earth.
Yeah, fair enough.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Look, the episode is typical RTD, throw everything at the fence sort of thing. However, ramping up to the sickening reuniting of Rose and the Doctor, which has been, foreshadowed. Him running towards them, sickening, the slow motion music. Mantovani Gold turning up to 11. He gets shot by a Dalek, of course, gets taken to the TARDIS, and all of a sudden starts regenerating. And it had those words, "to be continued." And I actually said, wow.
Die, you bastard.
And sort of those similar feelings I had when I watched Remembrance of the Daleks and going, how are they actually going to do this? Because if they're actually going to change the actor next episode, it would have been so good to have Matt Smith appear at the end of that episode.
That would have been
And then
huge...
David Tennant still appearing at the end of that episode as the human, you know what I mean, or do some crap like that.
And we did know it was Tennant's last season, so there was just
Correct.
there was just a little bit of maybe.
That would have been a huge rug pull. If the series had had the balls actually to do
He
that,
should have done it.
I actually think that would have been amazing.
How many times has Tennant regenerated?
About 107, isn't it?
Just thinking about that. It is well done.
He is now the Dolly case of emergency, so watch out for the Christmas special, I'm sure. Richard?
I only have one left on my list. The one I went for, it's a Pertwee. It's from The Green Death, Part 4, which is where the Doctor meets Boss.
Yes.
He's standing in the room. Who are you?
Yeah.
Where are you?
You disappoint me, Doctor. I should have thought you would have guessed. I am the boss. I'm all around you.
Yes.
Exactly. I am the computer.
They were predicting. They were predicting AI, weren't they?
They were.
Yeah.
That was mine, because that was, again, a pretty big reveal as a kid. Because I think I'd read the novel when I saw it.
Yeah.
So, again, that was sort of, ooh, really, I don't think I was actually at the point I thought it was the Master or anything, but, I do remember being surprised by that one as a kid.
And it wasn't a monster, was it?
No, it
wasn't
wasn't.
like, let's take the mask off. It's
No,
actually...
no, it's not like, Time Flight Part 2 or...
oh, Jesus.
then he just starts dribbling.
The snot coming out of
It's
it.
interesting how the show, even though it relies on a cliffhanger, how you're so far into the series by that stage that you're still not, unsurprised by the fact that it is this big reveal. It's good that they're able to keep on doing that.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you even get to something I think we've discussed before. You even get into the demons where now the Master's so important he gets his own cliffhanger.
No wonder Pertwee was getting a little bit shirty
Yeah,
by
I
then,
think
wasn't
so.
it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you saying he cut the brakes in Turkey?
Oh!
The dead can't sue.
All complaints should be directed to Rob.
Care of the Doctor Who show.
The views expressed on this podcast may not necessarily...
Reflect one of the other co-hosts. Rob?
Yes, my number one. There's a world where the Seeds of Doom is worshipped by all people who watch it.
Yes.
It is a great story.
I live in that world.
Yeah.
It is
I think it's
awesome.
arguably greatest Doctor Who story. I don't know.
Hold on,
I
what
don't
happened
know.
to horror fan
I'm
Rob?
going to say...
What's
come
wrong
on,
with
Rob.
you?
I don't
What have you
know,
got with
but
the
just
real Rob?
look, I'm wishy-washy. What can I say? It's Christmas. We're really spoiled for choice in terms of cliffhangers with the Seeds of Doom. I mean,
Yeah.
the base blows up.
Yep.
There's the Doctor faces down a charging Krynoid with a sword, that sort of thing. But I'm going with the episode, end of episode part 3, where Sarah,
Oh, yes.
Sheila,
yes.
and Chase
Yes.
has a bulging crinoid pod over
Yes.
their nose.
Yes.
And you see it pulsing, and you see
Yeah.
little green mucus, and you see Chase looking avidly at it,
Yeah.
and Sarah's going, "I don't want to be here," sort of thing.
Yes.
And and I think we see it open, don't we?
Yes.
It's
Yep.
it's just
starting
starting
to
to
pulsate,
open, and then
yeah.
it goes.
And then, whee!
Yes.
Yeah.
And look, it's beautifully directed. It's
Yes.
beautifully paced.
Yes.
It's beautifully acted.
And the music is awesome.
The horror, we've seen
Yeah.
what happened to the fellow at the base.
Yes.
And it's Sarah. Sarah's going to go green.
Yeah.
It's beautifully done.
Yeah.
It's beautifully done.
Yeah, it's the Noah transformation amped up to 11 again, isn't it, really?
Yes.
Because you saw, obviously, with
Now,
bubble
and
wrap
I'm not
and everything.
saying that everyone was the talk of the town, but the ratings
No.
for episode 3 were 10.3, and the ratings for episode 4, 11.1. So
Wow, they
they're
tuned
almost
in for
tuned
next
in
week.
for that. So I'm not saying that brought them in, but
There you go.
Very
it's a
good.
cracker.
Yeah.
So do you want my runners up?
Yes.
Yes, go for it.
Honourable mentions.
Now, I did have as a runner-up for Game Changer Green Death Part 4, Richard, so
Oh, snap up.
we almost snapped you there as well. But a couple of other Game Changers I had,
Yep.
we left her 3 months ago from Invasion of the
Yeah,
Dinosaurs.
the dinosaurs, yes.
Is he dead? Yes. The first one. Silurians Part 5.
Silurians, yeah.
You escape from my slave, but you will obey me or die. Where we find out the Master's only 6 inches tall.
Yep.
I also had An Unearthly Child Part 1, of course,
Oh, yes.
and Enlightenment Part 1, where they discover that they're in a spaceship.
Good choice.
Yes. Very good.
I like that.
That is
Good
good.
choice, yes.
Do you have any also Rens, mate?
I was going to say Invasion of Dinosaurs Part 1. But
You know what?
that is a good one.
That is a good one. And if
It
it
is
wasn't,
good.
if it wasn't for the fact that we'd seen the pterodactyl a bit earlier,
Yeah.
I would have had Invasion of the Dinosaurs Part 1 on my list.
Yes.
Then you could also have Part 2 and Part 5 because they're the same cliffhanger.
Yes.
But as a kid, Tyrannosaurus Rex taking the Doctor is like a proper wow moment. Yeah.
It's actually really good. I know that Tyrannosaurus Rex doesn't come off necessarily,
Roar.
but it's the intent of it, and I think
It
the
is.
intent's really, really good. It's a bloody good
Unless
story.
you read the book, which I did before,
Yes.
years before I saw Invasion of the Dinosaurs,
Yes.
because it wasn't on here until the 80s,
Yeah.
where they have the drunk guy who
Yes.
basically is lying in his flat and his friends bail on him because London's being evacuated.
Yeah.
He's too drunk to get up and go with them.
Yeah.
And then he comes outside and basically gets eaten by a dinosaur.
You go,
Huey McGee or something?
Yes,
isn't
that's
it?
yes,
right.
that's right,
Yes.
yeah. It's a great book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. All right, so for these weren't really runners up. There are a couple of silly ones I pulled out as maybe things I needed to liven things up a bit. One of the reveals I had was part 1 of the Sensorites. The Sensorite appears in the window. You sort of see William Russell desperately trying to be afraid of it.
I like the intent of it.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
the intent's there.
Yeah.
The other one I had, and it was a bit of a left field one actually, was Power of Kroll Part 1. Where Romana's told she's strapped to the table, she's told she's going to be eaten by this terrifying beast. And then this crap thing. that one really is a bait and switch though, because when the resolution is that it's meant to be a crap monster.
Yeah.
Because it's the dude in a costume.
Yes,
But
yes. That's actually very good, yeah.
I also actually had Invasion of Time 4 as well, but there you go. Now, I think the mandate was also to do a rubbish cliffhanger
Yes.
as well, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Or a shite one.
Yes.
So, who wants to go first? Rob.
There is a long and ignoble history of crash zooms into people's faces. Signalling the end of an episode with the expectation that the audience will be sufficiently intrigued to come back. Now, given the Trial of a Time Lord series was meant to relaunch the show, there seems to be, in my memory at least, a preponderance of crash zooms on Colin Baker's face, which just, given the show needed that pump up, that wasn't the way to go. So just effectively those crash zooms are my bad cliffhanger nomination.
And there's a lot of them. There's 14 of them, aren't they? Oh, no, actually, the
Lots.
Perry one's great. The
the-
Mind Warp Part 4 is really good. But, yeah, when they sacked Colin Baker, they said, sorry, Colin, you're going, but could we actually keep your nose?
I was going to say, that's the thing, they're not actually straight crashes, they're also up and he has it up his
You can
nose,
see
basically.
it. Yeah, you go, what's going on with his nose? Yeah,
All
that's
right.
really poor. Like, you just, it's just
I mean,
running
given
on
how long,
fumes.
this is a common complaint, given how long they had to
Yeah.
craft those scripts, and you just got cliffhanger after a cliff, it feels like
They're all
anyway,
burned
and
out.
It's just a waste of time,
Yeah,
It
it's just running on fumes.
which is sad.
Yeah, it is sad. It could have been great,
All right.
but it wasn't.
All right, well, I might go next. So I had a couple here, actually, which
for
I'll read out. And I'll come to my ultimate one in a minute. One I had was Dragonfire Part 1,
Oh, yes.
because that's just rubbish, basically.
And I just love how they try and justify, oh, this is supposed to happen. All It's like, no, it's shit.
No, it is. It's rubbish.
Yeah.
I like Rob Shearman talking about that on one of the docos where he says, as a kid you think it's really, really crap. Then as a sort of a pretentious teenager you're like, no, it's metatextual, it's really awesome. Then you grow up a bit and realise, no, it's crap.
Absolutely. Another one I had was a total non-cliffhanger, which is Death of the Daleks Part 3.
Snap!
Oh, no, I will fight you.
A renovator's nightmare with the deadly basalt tiles. Yeah,
I will fight you on that one.
Really?
I will fight, because you don't know that it's got something crap. All you know is that like they're in danger. But I think it's fine. I think it's fine.
Again, every opinion's
Yeah,
valid.
righto.
Okay, move on.
The other one I was going to mention, and it's probably specifically for Australians, is some of those sort of mandatory cliffhangers they did during season 22 when they were showing here. Some of those are really dire. Probably the one I've picked out is actually from Vengeance on Varos, which is, who's this come to meet us? Whee!
I thought you were going to go for the other one in Varos, where only a minute ago you had Perry and Aretta in actual peril, but they cut it a minute later with walking's all that's required for now.
So there is that. But ultimately, look, I really like the Horns of Nimon, but I couldn't go past Horns of Nimon Part 1. Where that's not an asteroid, it's a planet. It's coming toward us. And then looks up.
as he hugs K9.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
It's a laugh, though, isn't it?
That is a terrible cliffhanger.
It is.
Can I take yours,
Yeah,
mate?
but I'm going to swap it out very quickly with Time Flight Part 2, where the Plasmatons have Davison and they're gurgling along and he just disappears. Pretty shit, isn't it?
You seem like you're personally insulted by that.
I think Time Flight is personally insulting. You've got bad episode 1, bad in episode 2, 3,
4.
and 4. They're all bad.
Yeah, we're all secretly hoping Tegan was going to be left behind.
So you've escaped from Amsterdam. Young Dave?
I had 2 nominations for poor ones. Both of them are conceptually okay, but the execution is poor. The first, Richard, you mentioned, which is the Centaurites Part 1. The idea that the Centaurites are arriving is a good idea, but the execution of the man in the very bad master sort of feebly looking through the window is terrible. But
Plus you've also got the one where Susan does that totally deadpan, they want me to go down to their planet with them.
And look, I'm an apologist for the Centaurites, but no, that cliffhanger is terrible. But the one that I did land on is from the Pertwee era. Again, it's the execution more than anything. It is the Three Doctors Part 2. Because the image of a cardboard cutout house sort of flying through a bad black hole is so laughably bad that it cannot be taken seriously.
That is great, yeah. And the music.
Holy Moses, what's that?
Holy Moses! I'll be on the bill next week.
Lovely. Well done, everyone.
Yes.
Yeah, it was good fun.
That was fun.
Any takeaways from our discussion there, you think, guys?
I think the point you made at the start about Doctor Who's format sort of requiring you to have a come back next week moment every 25 minutes is challenging. It is. I mean, you're really into those old sort of movie reel plays of the 1930s and 40s, you know, the old Flash Gordon serials and that had to have the moment of peril. So, you come back to the cinema next Saturday to watch the next one. And look, it's not surprising, I guess, that some of them just don't work.
No.
Do we think that the modern series has lost something with its almost total absence of cliffhangers?
I think that, on balance, it's something that probably had to happen because television has moved a long way from serial formats.
Yes.
But absolutely, I think that it is something that is missing from the new series, and it does leave us, as nostalgic fans of the classic series, feeling a bit lackluster. And it's funny that a lot of them are really, really good, and a lot of them are the really memorable moments of the new series. But even though, as I said, modern series doesn't do it that well, there are other modern series that do it from time to time.
Yeah.
We're recording this right between the drop of Volume 1 and Volume 2 of the final season of Stranger Things. And I won't say what it is, but I think every Stranger Things fan who saw episode 4 of season 5, which was the end of that first batch they released, that was a massive game-changing cliffhanger and was absolutely you now need to come back and see the next drop. There are series out there that are still doing them from time to time. They do work really well.
I was interested, Dave, with your interview with Dylan Reese on one of the more recent Doctor Who shows, where he sort of suggested that perhaps if the show was to come back on a more regular basis, that it would be a limited run of 6 episodes that was just one story. And if that's right, if his forecasting is potentially right, there's an opportunity there for the reintroduction of a cliffhanger format. So it'll be interesting to see what the future brings.
Or is it just going to be Flux Loader again?
Well, Well,
But again, if it's something like a Netflix series which drops an entire batch of 6 or 8 episodes in one go, then there actually is an incentive for you to say, oh, I'll just watch one more before bed. There's a cliffhanger. You know what? I might just keep watching part 2 now.
I'll call in sick next day and just keep going. Yeah, exactly. No, you're right.
So they can work in modern TV as well.
well, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, cliffhangers.
Whee! And now it's Target Book Club. Usually with Target Book Clubs, we pick a theme or a series and discuss the novelisations. Well, originally I was thinking might do season 13 to tie in with a box set, but it's a bit boring. And then Dave had the great idea of focusing on one particular author who has worked on new series, but also has contributed to the range in the past. I'm talking about Gareth Roberts. So we picked out some of Gareth's work, and Dave has kindly put them in publication order for me, so I don't bugger it up.
Yeah,
So
we're doing 4 of his 7 Virgin books.
So we've got 4 here in my hands, and the highest science we gave to Rob, and we'll talk about that first because obviously the publication order. The Romance of Crime, who had that?
Me?
Very good. Zampa, which I wasn't aware of, that's gone to Dave.
Yep.
And Dave suggested I read The Plotters.
I did.
Let's go to Rob first.
I was given the task of reading the highest science.
A task, was it, Rob?
Purchased for $11.95 from my former employer Minotaur Books, as it says on the back here. So, as I understand it, The High Science is Gareth's first novel?
It is.
Yes.
It is, yes.
Look, I'll be honest. When I first started reading this, I wasn't overly impressed. It felt a lot like a grab bag of a whole lot of different elements, and it is a whole lot of different elements. There are essentially people who are kidnapped from different points in Earth's history and the galaxy's history and go to the planet of Sakrat, and I wasn't really engaged with that. Some of the characters, there's a trio of young men going off to a music festival who didn't really grab me at all. And there's the Doctor and Bernice, and admittedly they're quite well written actually throughout. There's a lot of lines that the Doctor has given that feel like the TV Doctor. And Bernice makes a pleasing change from the angsty Ace, who I think left in Love and War obviously, which was before, well obviously before
Just before that.
Just
I think.
before
Yeah,
that.
about 3 books before.
Yeah, because the reference is made to the planet Heaven and stuff like that. And if you want to read a really good book, Love and War is it. And then there's a group of criminals who are woken from cryogenic suspension as they orbit the planet of Sakrat. And then there are Gareth's really interesting and well done creations, the Chelonians, a bunch of homicidal tortoises, cybernetically enhanced tortoises. Look, I found the first part of the book to be unengaging. I didn't think it was really well written. It feels a lot like your first author syndrome of I've got a whole lot of ideas, I'm going to smash them together. Which is just the way it is, I suppose. There's a bit of Douglas Adams' sub-humour evident in it, which I don't think Gareth completely escapes from throughout his career. But look, having said that about how I felt about the first half, I think the second half of the book does begin to pick up when this seemingly disparate sort of group of people are brought together and you suddenly realise that the Fortean flicker, which is what the Doctor is trying to track down and stop, which is dragging all these people to this planet, there is a reason for everything that's going on. And there's a real tinge, having read it again, of melancholy through the last half of the book, insofar as everyone basically dies or is trapped in a time bubble at the end of the story. And there are people that Bernice meets and gets to like who die in rather horrible manner. And the Chelonians are real, just to be honest, just single-minded, murdering, psychopaths who regard every other living being as a parasite worthy of being destroyed. And it does get a bit dark in that sense. And while the Doctor and Bernice sort of win out at the end, it doesn't feel like a real clean-cut victory to me. So first half, 5 out of 10, back half, 7.5 out of 10. It's not the best written, and I don't know that it's edited very well, so I'm not quite sure that the people at Virgin Books at that time were really helping Gareth bring his best work to the page. But overall, it's good, and the Chelonians do come back, and it was adapted by Big Finish as an audio play, and if anyone here has actually heard it, please contribute at the end. It suffers from first book syndrome, but it does get better as it goes along, and I do recommend it if you're interested. So that's the highest science.
So this came out in February of 1993, and I've got to admit, I would have this in my list of top 5 new adventures.
Ooh.
Now, I haven't gone back and reread it for a long time because part of me is a little worried that 13-year-old me really, really loved it, and that maybe in my 40s I might not appreciate quite as much, but I think it is probably time it is due for me to give it another look. I actually think it's just got some really cool ideas. I think the Shalonians are one of the genuine, interesting ideas that comes out of the new adventures, and as an ongoing monster that do get referenced in the new series but don't appear. And I just sort of love the diversity of the different ideas. In my mind, certainly when I was 12 or 13 reading it, Shelldecker was absolutely voiced by Paul Darrow, and the cell that he carried around was voiced by Peter Tuttingham. So,
Yes.
so look, I think it's a really interesting one. I have heard the Big Finish audio, and in fact I did guest on the Sirens of Audio talking about that adaptation about a year ago, so feel free to check that out. It's not a bad adaptation, it's just actually a pretty good adaptation. They do PG it though a lot, so I think basically Bernice's friends who are addicted to the bubble shake, which does turn up in the Sarah Jane Adventures, I believe. Wow. That is very, very heavily sort of cut down. Some of the gruesome deaths are definitely cut down. I think the whole thing about the cell just desperately wanting to die was sort of cut back. But look, it's very good. I think, look, it's a favourite of mine.
Wasn't there going to be a TV version of it or something like that? Was that all right thing?
So what ended up as the Gareth Roberts Easter special?
Oh, the Planet of the Dead.
Planet of
That
the
was
Dead,
awful.
yes.
Well, that's right, yes.
I don't know whether it was the Shalonians were originally meant to be the monster or it was meant to be an adaptation, but in the end they just couldn't make it work. Or what? That's the legend, I don't know. Whether that sort of got beyond the pitch stage or what.
Well, that didn't work anyway.
No.
The bus certainly didn't.
Sorry to be a bit of a start off with a bit of a downer.
No, that's okay.
That's just me.
No, it's okay. Richard, can you turn us around?
Well, we'll see. I read The Romance of Crime. It was really good.
That end.
No, following on from what Rob said, I do remember reading A Higher Science, being a bit 50-50 about it when I read it back in the 90s. I will say this is a step up, I think, in terms of probably getting the era right. When the new adventures came out, I do remember there was a lot of the sort of rads versus trads things, that people who wanted them to go way beyond what you could see on television, and beyond the armies of five and being in Planet Quarry and whatever, and tell huge stories, versus those who really, no, I actually want it to just capture the era. I want this to feel like a Third Doctor adventure or whatever. And I do remember there being a bit of criticism. I think it was the Troughton stories particularly, I think, that copped a bit at the time, the Hartnell and Troughton ones. But I think the Troughton ones particularly probably is not quite getting the feel of the era right. This one, just the facts and figures, this one was the 6th MA released. I paid $12.95 for that from that well-known Melbourne Emporium. Yes.
It says $9.95 on the back cover.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was actually going to make that joke.
They put their tax on it.
Retail price in Australia was $9.95.
But
My wage had to be paid something.
But there you go. It's set obviously during season 17. Now the back cover says it's between Creature from the Pit and the Nightmare of Eden. Although that seems quite arbitrary, there's absolutely nothing in the story that mentions either. So, but look, it is arguably probably a little bit too big for TV. There's quite a few scene changes across the course of the story. We go from the planet to the rock, we go to the spaceship, we go back to the planet inside the base, etc. So it probably would have stretched the TV budget a bit. This might, if they did it on TV, this probably would have been the big end of season 1. Perhaps we might have got maybe instead of Sharda or something.
With
maybe.
no budget.
Yes, with no, but even less budget. I suspect, if they had done it, the volatile Planet 11 with its, blue atmosphere and whatever probably would have just been Betchworth Quarry or something. Yeah, where it succeeds is it does capture season 17 quite convincingly. It gets that lighter tone. Romana is the sort of controlled, capable one, while the Doctor, is all quips and larger than life, hiding his intelligence, is sort of in that, my dear, nobody's as stupid as he seems sort of mode. Dialogue for the Doctor is perhaps a little bit off. Overall, I think Gareth Roberts, he does actually capture the Doctor and Romana quite well, but dialogue for the Doctor is perhaps a fraction off. K9 actually unusually gets a lot to do. He actually is sort of pretty much carrying one of the threads as we get later into the story. He's partnered with one of the supporting characters. They have quite a thing to roll. The supporting cast, now that I've mentioned them, they are kind of cliches. There's the bad artiste, who sees himself, as being a genius, and everyone around him is just a talentless hack, including the guy who sold far more paintings than him. There's the copper, and that immediately made me think of Duggan, really, basically. He describes himself as dedicated, he's the one good copper while everyone around him's incompetent and he's constantly pining for his family, etc. But So they are kind of cliches a bit, and the joke really with the copper is he sees himself, as this successful detective, and clearly everyone around him just thinks he's a bit of a dick, basically. But and then we introduce the criminal Nisbet brothers a little later in the story. They're very clearly modelled on the Krays, perhaps with some thrown in from the Piranha Brothers for Monty Python fans. But although it is explicitly stated that there's one of them is 8 years older than the other, so maybe it's more sort of Charlie and one of the twins as opposed to Ronnie and Reggie. But we'll see. They're very much the old style 60s gangster firm, who had respect back in the day and are never to be interrupted in the middle of their steak dinner, or they get a bit stabby. there might be violence. The other thing, of course, and they're even on the cover, is they're using the Ogrons as their muscle. The Ogrons themselves are largely there as comedy relief. Yeah. Really. There's several mentions of how unintelligent they are and how they're very slow to follow orders, etc. There is sort of the obligatory mention of the Nisbets acquiring them after their former masters were blown up trying to conquer half the galaxy by someone. There is a few fan moments in there as well. There's a mention of one of the characters basing themselves like a grovelling insect. And there's actually another one, there's quite a little clever insertion. Drops in what is one of Tom Baker, I think's better known outtakes. The bit where he says that K9 never knows the answer when it's important. I'm not going to go too much into the plot. Probably owes a little bit maybe to the Jim Carrey movie The Mask, perhaps. There's 3 main villains in the story and they're all obviously trying to outmaneuver each other. As we go through, there's the Nisbet brothers, as above, they're looking for a big score to re-establish themselves. The main villain, Zaius, I will say... she seems like a bit of a mindless killer when she's introduced, but she's given a really quite horrific backstory where you get this flashback, basically, where her entire people and everyone she knows is just murdered in front of her. And that sort of awakens her mutant powers, so probably touch X-Men there as well. I think so, yeah. Yes, and she now is just totally on a quest for vengeance, basically all the normals must die type thing. She's found a way to cheat death through the silver mask that they're all looking for. And then the other main villain is the Pierpoint. He's very much a background character for the first part of the story, and quite faceless, really, until you get into the latter part of it. When he suddenly becomes one of the main protagonists, it's probably a little bit obvious that he's heavily involved in all the machinations going on. Look, it did move at a fair clip. I did enjoy it. As I said, it does a very good job of capturing the ethos. I suspect if it was televised Doctor Who, it does have a couple of fairly major info dumps in it, much as what we're used to on TV. He is a very good writer, and I think most of his NAs and MAs are worth reading. Plus, he obviously got to write for the new series when it came back. It does get the tone of season 17 really well. It is fairly gruesome in places. Zaius basically murders people by exploding them. And it is quite gruesome. You get to see them splattered everywhere. She does it several times throughout the book. There's also themes of possession and losing one's identity, which I think ranks amongst people's primal fears, that loss of identity. But then you get the next scene, the Doctor's being funny with an Ogron, so jumps sort of from something quite gruesome to completely the opposite. So it may be too big a jump in places. It isn't perfect. Look, you mentioned trying to capture Douglas Adams. There are quite a few prose jokes in it, I think, that don't quite land. There's a moment where the Ogrons are described as moving noisily through an airlock, and then the author sort of makes the quip, if there's one thing a group of Ogrons could be relied upon to do well, it's move clumsily and noisily through an airlock. It is a pretty good read. This one's also been adapted by Big Finish, which I must admit I haven't listened to it. I don't know if any of you have. I think it's meant to be quite a good adaptation.
Yeah, it is. It's very good.
But yeah, look, I really enjoyed it. I don't think I've read it since I first picked it up in the mid-90s, but I actually really enjoyed reading it again. That was good.
So this came out in January of 95. The new adventure at that time was Warlock, which perhaps gives you a sense of where those books were at that time.
Wow.
That's a very, very, very sort of rad Cartmore book.
Yes.
I have very fond memories because this was a book that I got in the summer between changing schools. And I just remember sort of many lazy summer mornings in January lying in bed and reading this one and really enjoying it. I think it's worth noting here that Gareth Roberts' reputation probably really stems from this book and what comes after it, because, as you said, Richard, this was the 6th missing adventure. The first 6, with the exception of Goth Opera, which was the one that launched it, had really struggled, as you said, to find that balance with the missing adventures. Yeah. Because with the new adventures, as you say, they'd grown up this audience, and there was this expectation that they do something bigger than just Doctor Who. Whether it's, a bit more sexuality, more swearing, bigger ideas, whatever. And you sort of have to get people who are now expecting that to be happy, but also people who want the era to feel right to be happy. So
Yes.
if you don't have Victoria sleeping around, people are like, well, this is just Kitty's Doctor Who. But if you do have Victoria sleeping around, then people are like, well, this doesn't feel like the Troughton era.
No, I will say, I do, out of the first books, I do remember Venusian Lullaby being quite beautifully written.
Yes.
It's very poetic and very, very, very well written. It's probably arguably not a true Hartnell story, but...
Yeah, I think that's the other good one from that first half dozen, although it is very long.
And heavy.
And
It
heavy.
was, yeah.
But as I said, it is quite poetically and very, as I said, very beautifully written.
It is, but sort of with Romance of Crime, Gareth Roberts comes along and does capture that feel of season 17, but with an unlimited budget and unlimited ideas.
Absolutely. Actually, all his season 17 books are good.
Well, and that's what I was about to say. He then does two more of them, The English Way of Death and The Well-Mannered War, which I think The Well-Mannered War is really, really good. And suddenly people are like, well, yeah, you can do it. You can absolutely capture this almost sort of... I mean, this is the 90s, so season 17 was pretty well slated by Doctor Who fandom at the time. And he's come by and set 3 books in there, captured the fun of that era, but also done it in a big way. And it was sort of, by that point, Gareth Roberts was really sort of looked at as the king of the missing adventures in the way that Cornell was the new adventures. I can remember when it was announced that Gareth Roberts was doing another missing adventure, particularly with season 17, people were like, oh, great, I need to see that one because I know it'll be good.
Thanks, Richard. Now, on to the next one, and it's Zampa, which I've never heard of. Dave's got that, so I'll give the book to you.
So, look, this is probably Gareth Roberts' most forgotten of his 7 books. I know you're looking at me, Richard. Tragedy Day isn't forgotten, it's just bad. Nothing's remembered for being his weak one. So I chose to read it because, look, I know that I love his 4 missing adventures. I know that I enjoy High Science. I know that I won't enjoy Tragedy Day. So I thought I'd read Zampa because, like you, it's sort of completely forgotten. I thought this was a pretty fun read. I don't think it's nearly his best work, but it was pretty good with one sort of major flaw. What he does very well is set up a world and some characters. So you have the conceit here that Zampa is sort of almost a Magrathea type planet. It's got its own little dimension securely cut off from the galaxy where they make battleships. And very rich conglomerates and empires can go in and they can pay Zampa a lot of money and they make battleships. And it's just sort of this big part of the 30th century Doctor Who universe, into which the last remnants of the Shalonian Empire, which, if the Higher Science is at the peak of their empire, this is very much the dying days after the majority of the population has decided that other life forms are important too and are not parasites, and there's been a revolution on Shalonia. But the Big Mother, the ruler of the Empire, has got the last of her battle fleet and is desperate to win that civil war and come back for the glory of the Shalonian Empire, and so wants to buy some battleships from Zampa to go and win that civil war, into which we put all our characters. So Roberts sets up a really good little world. You've got Zampa there with the 5 employees who are all very well written characters, all interesting characters. The 2 Shalonians that then come to do the negotiating are very good. There's sort of the old world weary general and the young and impetuous first pilot, which, Doctor Who cliche, but it works, into which the Doctor, Bernice, and Chris and Roz fall.
Oh, yes.
Now, Roberts does a very good job here writing the 7th Doctor, and like you said, Rob, I think that he's got no interest in the sort of the New Adventures style, ultimate game player, times champion, manipulator, baby murderer. Like, he just wants the fun 7th Doctor to turn up, and that's what you get in this. And this is, in some ways, perhaps the most standalone of all of those later New Adventures, because this was released in August of 95, and it's the 41st book, so we're almost exactly 2/3 through the run at this point, where there are some really wild and out there books, and this could be McCoy from, almost Dragonfire. So it really comes to life in that sort of sense. We then find out that the slug-like Zamps are the ones who actually build the spaceships, and we then find out that there's a bit more going on. The management is dying. We're not quite sure what the management is and why it's dying. I think that revelation is probably the weaker part of the book. That's pretty obvious. But then there's a fairly massive twist where everything the Doctor thought was going on was actually completely wrong, and suddenly he's got to deal with those consequences. The weakness of the book is that although I enjoyed the first 203 pages and there were nice characters, it was fun and interesting setup, there was absolutely no peril whatsoever. And it's only at page 203 out of a 250-page book where suddenly you get that really big twist and revelation of what's going on. And you go, oh, now there is actually, galaxy-wide peril, never mind the Doctor at risk and Bernice at risk and all the rest of it. And I just felt that came a bit too late, and maybe he could have structured the book a bit differently. As I said, the Doctor's written well, Bernice is written very well. Roz and Chris are only in their third book at this stage. They've introduced Original Sin. They were shoehorned into Sky Pirates, exclamation mark. And I think here as well, it does sort of have that feeling of them just having been thrown into the plot. And they're sort of,
They're giving Ben's lines.
Yeah, but basically yes. Basically, yes. So that's very clear. So look, was it Roberts' best work? No, absolutely not. I think that, frankly, all the other ones we're covering today are better than this. But as a fun, enjoyable, disposable, nice McCoy story, I thought it worked very well. And in fact, this almost feels more like a McCoy missing adventure than it does an actual new adventure. And Rich did mention the Trout and Missing Adventures and how there are a lot of misses in that range. I would just note that the Missing Adventure that came out at the same time as Zampa is probably the one that does work, and that is Gary Russell's Invasion of the Cat People.
Really? Okay.
I actually don't remember enjoying that one, but okay, that's fine. Maybe I need to reread
It had Jacqueline Pearce and Colin Jevons in it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think once we sort of got to the bit where they were leaving, and it's probably because it's too big for a Troughton story. I think because they're hopping around different places and whatever, was sort of a bit, this really doesn't feel like Troughton.
Now, Mark.
Yes.
You have the fourth selection in our little
I do. Now, I must thank Dave for recommending this one to me. Actually, I read The Plotters, or Doctor Who and The Plotters, I'm calling it. Unlike Dave, I gave up on the whole Virgin New Adventure range, I think after I sold them all to you, Richard, if I remember. And then I sort of dipped in and out of the Missing Adventure range, and like you, I enjoyed some of them and didn't enjoy some of them. But I do remember reading Well-Mannered War and English Way of Death. I felt those really encapsulated the season 17 feel beautifully. I'll be honest with you, this book here also captures season 2 of Doctor Who and that Titus crew perfectly, including Billy Boy Hartnell fluffing his lines occasionally, which was awesome. So look, it's a comedic, pure historical adventure. I've obviously focused on human history as opposed to, very similar to the Romans, that sort of tone, based around the gunpowder plot. Couple of days before that day was supposed to kick off, as it were. You've got Ian and Barbara. They're intending to visit the Globe Theatre. Instead, they stumble into a company of conspirators, including Robert Catesby and Guy Fawkes. So from a history teacher point of view, she's quite shocked about, I've got this perception of what Guy Fawkes should be. However, he is completely different. It's historical accuracy, but with a bit of farce thrown in, like Gareth Roberts' his other tomes in the Missing Adventure range. Obviously, a lot of political intrigue in this, especially with the King's advisor, Robert Cecil.
History teaches us never trust a Cecil.
Never trust a Cecil. And of course, there is a mysterious figure called the Spaniard. You've got King James I. He's portrayed as foppish, eccentric, highly on the sauce all the time. Guy Fawkes, obviously, and you got Robert Cecil, who's the King's advisor. You've also got in there a fantastic double act. Firking and Hod. They're very similar to Garin and Unstoff in terms of characterisation, and they provide a lower class perspective of 1605 London in terms of they're working at a tannery, it's awful, they're working their asses off, the only thing they've really got to look forward to is going to the pub and getting a bit of a pie and whatever. Look, the book is a great read. I never felt like it was a slog. It felt naturally placed in between the Space Museum and the Chase. In fact, I would rather have seen this on screen than the Space Museum, and it would have been perfect candidate for adaptation of the new series. I would have preferred this over the Shakespeare Code, The Lodger, or that bloody awful closing time, to be perfectly honest with you. To wrap it all up, I'd thoroughly recommend reading this book. It captures the spirit of the era particularly. Lots of intrigue and subplots, great characterisations, and a time in history. It's only celebrated once a year in the UK. So, The Plotters, do yourself a favour and get a copy.
So this came out in November of 1996. Now, over at the New Adventures, this is the month that So Vile Sin did not come out. So
the hard drive.
Yes. So there was no New Adventure out in that month. I can remember reading that again over that summer when I would have been 16 and a half and really enjoying it at the time. I reread this again about 2 years ago on a flight to Japan, and I absolutely bloody love this one. I think that what was kind of entertaining at 16 is very entertaining as an adult. I agree, Mark. He absolutely captures the feeling of season 2. Certainly the quite historically accurate portrayal of James VI and First and his interest in his young courtiers would not have made the screen in season 2.
No, Nubian prince.
But yes, the new series has gone there, and in fact, if you are interested in that side of King James, there was a recent miniseries, George and Mary, which went very much into that with Nicholas Gazeltine as his interest. Look, I just think it's really entertaining, and you're right. He captures Vicky, he captures the Doctor, he captures Ian and Barbara just really, really well. This is one of the, if not the best, Missing Adventures now that I've reread it.
So, in summary, if anyone is interested, they should go hunt down Gareth Roberts' work, particularly the latter stuff.
I think, like any of these authors, the more you get into their work, the better they are. I mean, even people like Kate Orman and Paul Cornell, who wrote very well-respected first novels. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt that as they wrote more for that series, they get better and better. And I think that
writers get better and better.
Yeah, and I suspect if we read The Well-Mattered War, which was Robert's last contribution to the book range, that would probably have stood out particularly well as well.
So you've obviously read all the New Adventures and those books. Do you feel like Gareth enjoyed writing for the classic series more than the news?
Yeah, I think he's having a lot more fun going back to eras of the show that he loves and having fun with them. Yeah. And look, he went back to season 17 3 times. Yeah. So that's clearly an era that he's very fond of and perhaps did a lot of work to rehabilitate.
I would say, having read, I think I've read pretty much all the ones he did for Virgin. I found his Missing Adventures, probably generally speaking, better than the New Adventures. Then again, I sort of dipped in and out of the New Adventures a bit, over the journey, whereas I think I read pretty much every single one of them. The only one I didn't read was the Hartnell Dodo one. The Man in the Velvet Mask.
Yes.
Oh, I haven't read that. Was it any good?
No.
Well, there you go.
And that was the thing. I sort of started reading it, and then every review I read.
That's the infamous one where Dodo gets space syphilis. Space syphilis, to be clear, yes.
And on that bombshell, hi ye to eBay or ABE Books people if you want to track down copies of these.
Yes. And speaking of syphilis, it's now time for the Fanwank of the Year Awards. Fanwank. And to kick us off, Rob, would you like to go first, please?
Yes, I would like to make a statement. The 2025 nominee is, well, me. Why? By way of introduction, let me say that this mea culpa comes courtesy of that stinking corpse otherwise known as the Reality War. Long-time listeners will recall I was quite excited about the return of RTD and the casting of Ncuti Gatwa, and said as much on an episode of this frankly awesome podcast. I thought the return to old glories, the casting of a dashing, charismatic lead, and an experienced hand once more at the wheel would be a way to revive the show's sinking fortunes. I was wrong, and for that, I apologise. No amount of wishful thinking, hope and naive delusions could mask the lack of critical thinking behind my wildly inaccurate claims at that time. I was clearly high on my own supply, eager to turn the page on an era I had thought had gone down the wrong path. Turns out, I had gone down the wrong path. The Chibnall era, like a lot of eras in the show's long history, has its ups and downs, but overall, wasn't that bad. Turns out, Jodie Whittaker was pretty decent casting. Turns out, all that fucking Disney money just can't polish a turd. Again.
But you can roll it in glitter.
I apologise. Indeed you can. I led myself and all of you listening down the primrose path all those years ago. And so, where did we end up collectively? Wallowing in the fetid nightmare that was the Reality War, that's where. Doctor Who's about fun, scares, adventures, and a charismatic lead who doesn't take nonsense and kicks tyrants in the shins, all with a twinkle in his eye. It isn't about lavish special effects. It isn't about fighting one culture war after another. It absolutely isn't about running out of narrative steam and locking the co-star in a box because you don't know what to do with her. And it certainly isn't an opportunity to get Billy Piper in for an up yours cameo that serves no purpose at all. So there it is. The Reality War summed up 2 years of me being utterly, totally wrong. Mea culpa, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa.
Well done. Very good, Rob. Well done.
Hi, Claudius.
Less said about that, the better, to be honest.
Richard, have you got one there?
Now, I've called this the Even Better Than the Real Thing Award.
Oh, very good.
There is a certain gentleman. Do you want to name him? Or?
I'll give you the initials. Ian Levine.
Well, all right, that's sidesteps any legal thing. All complaints to Mark. When the news broke by Film is Fabulous that the exciting news of a possible Doctor Who missing episode recovery, there was one lone voice who decided to burst everyone's bubble by posting this. As for the 97 missing episodes of Doctor Who, I feel offended that people seem so obsessed with the futile search for any further missing episodes, while my regenerated episodes are so close to the real thing that only the most stubborn of Luddites refuse to accept how good they are.
And did somebody respond to that tweet there?
Yes, now there is a response here that says...
Who's that from? Philip Morris. All right, mate.
Again, sidestep any issues, complaints to Mark. Dear Evil Annie, you will soon be eating your words. And as we say this, there has actually been an update on Film and Fabulous. They are going to make an announcement, I think, early in the new year about the particular collection that everyone was getting excited by.
Yeah. Yes, they have. The legalities have been worked out.
Yes. They've actually said they are now in possession, I think.
They are. Whether the label matches what's actually in the tin doesn't matter.
Yes, and they have posted some rather intriguing photos recently of corroded film cans that they're currently
It's more
looking
episodes of Scaffold.
All right.
Very good. Dave!
Look, I've got a couple of nominations. Rob has already mentioned the reality war. I was going to home in particularly on Omega coming back as a screaming, desiccated corpse, which was a large amount of fanwake, but I think that Rob covered that very well.
At least they didn't put a dog lead on him.
Yes.
Oh, that was bad.
Jesus.
I've got 2 double nominations. The first is one that, well, look, we are recording this on the Sunday before Christmas, which means that tomorrow in the UK, they'll be dropping the final episode of The War Between the Land and the Sea. Oh. We, of course, cannot watch that in Australia, even if we wanted to, because Doctor Who is no longer a global brand and is not being broadcast outside of the UK. Now, that's fine. That's a commercial decision the BBC have decided to make, but the next time they send out a press release saying that Doctor Who is a global brand, that is no longer a fact, it is just fanwank.
But didn't you see the asterisks? Except for these countries, right? Please check your T's and C's, mate.
Now, local guides.
Now, I haven't gone to the high seas and watched this, but I was talking to a friend of our podcast, Dylan Rees, who just said, hey, have you actually gone and watched it? I said, no. And I said to him, I've just got one question for you, though. Does Russell Tovey actually fuck the fish? To which Dylan said, yes, he has. And I was just sitting there, and I was just imagining Russell
to SeaWorld.
I was just imagining Russell T Davies sitting there going, ooh, I've got Russell Tovey. He's a magnificent actor, very good looking, very, very good actor. You know what would be really good, really dramatic? If he has sex with a fish. You know, because that's what we need in television now. People will care more about the environment if they were sexually attracted to fish.
Interspecies erotica.
I don't know quite what I was thinking. That is definitely a piece of fanwank, but and fishwank probably, but no, I was also just thinking of that moment from The Simpsons. But boss, I thought you said he was dead. What I actually said was, he sleeps with the fishes. So that's my first fanwake double. The other is just to go down to Big Finish, because, it's that time of year. I know we've had a long-going debate about should they recast deceased actors, and it doesn't mean that we get to experience new stories in the Pertwee era if they recast the Pertwee era. Okay, there's a debate there. But now they're recasting living doctors. I've just read that the 12th Doctor, as portrayed on screen by Peter Capaldi, will return for a brand new series of audio adventures beginning in 2026, now voiced by the impressionist John Coleshaw.
Oh my God!
So you have one of the genuinely great British actors has been recast by an impressionist. Now look, I'm sure that like me, you can remember going back 20 odd years and getting those first sort of wave files of John Coleshaw's Tom Baker impressions on the radio and thinking they're very funny. And look, he does a very funny impression. Yeah. Is he really an actor that can actually give a performance? It's kind of like when Fraser Hines started to play the second Doctor in a few audios. And look, I've got a lot of respect for Fraser Hines. He's a great guy. We've had a few drinks with him. He's had a great 60-year acting career. But I'm fairly sure that he's just told the anecdote about... And then Patrick said, no, Jamie always says, look at the size of that thing. And it was like, oh, that's a really good impression. So he's got one sentence he can do. It turns out all the rest of his Patrick Troughton impression, he just sounds like Fraser Hines. But so I just don't understand why there's a need to recast Peter Capaldi. They've also recast Matt Smith. A chap by the name of Miles Taylor is doing that. Now, I've actually followed Miles on social media for quite a while. He's quite active in fandom and has had some interesting posts over the years about trying to get a career in television and all the rest of it. He seems like a great guy. Although Matt Smith's probably got another 50 years of life, we have recast him. As I say, I'm open to the debate about recasting people from eras gone by. I have enjoyed listening this year to a lot of big finishes set in the Hartnell era, where they've got William Russell to do stories where he occasionally does a Hartnell impression, and I'm like... William Russell gets it, because he actually, although he doesn't sound like Hartnell, he feels like Hartnell.
It's the inflections.
It's the mannerisms, and obviously the guy worked with him closely and knew him. I think that's far better than an impressionist. Yeah. So that's my Big Finish fanwake for the year. But Look, I probably should have gone the other way because I wasn't going to top Fishwank, was I?
No, absolutely not. No, that fish rank was more caviar really than anything else. I mean, the thing is, Culshaw's doing the Brigadier, he's doing Chameleon, he's now doing Capaldi. Capaldi won't go back and touch it. I mean,
we know he'll be brought in to do the Fourth Doctor on the very sad day when Tom dies. Yes,
absolutely, because it's the last thing you wanted. Like Kate O'Mara, the last thing she wanted on a deathbed was, please recast me.
What's your Fanwank, Mark?
Let's just start with a notable mention. The Gives a Job award goes to Katie Manning. As soon as an episode of Doctor Who or The Lives and Loves of a Homo Aqua screens, Katie is straight on to posting on X, saying how marvellous the episode was and what a genius RTD is, even though you can tell in her eyes she's looking like she's recording a hostage video. Keep trying, Katie, because one day you might I don't think so. I'm calling this the Innovation in British Dentistry Award goes to the Doctor Who restoration team. Via the wonders of AI on the season 13 box set, not only did they align Tom Baker's crooked teeth completely straight, they also applied a lovely silver finish to them, making him look like a cross between Chameleon and the James Bond villain Jaws. I'm not a fan of this whole AI restoration thing. Season 13 doesn't look right to me. Season 7, I felt they got the balance right between the restoration and everything like that, the authentic 70s look. They've just completely gone the opposite. Yeah, it just looks fake.
Well, I've just watched the Season 2 Blake 7 Blu-ray box set, and the restoration on that is pitch perfect. It is excellent.
Okay, my number 2, I'm calling this the Coolest Fuck Award, and that goes to the great man, or the other great man, Peter Capaldi. Picture this, Dave. And rest of you. It's Glastonbury.
Apparently we're in the room.
Oh, sorry. I'm looking like I'll throw
We
here.
have no imagination, Rob.
Yeah. Dave and the other 2. Picture this.
Dave and the other 2.
Now I feel like Ringo.
I was just thinking that bit, the Wizard of Oz. Oh, Scarecrow, I'll miss you most of all.
2020
best.
No, yeah. So picture this, guys. It's Glastonbury 2025. It's a gorgeous June day. There's world-class music there on the stage. The Scottish band Franz Ferdinand goes on the stage and introduces last of the great doctors, Peter Capaldi. He walks onto the stage with a sharp suit, a red shirt and sunglasses, and then proceeds to join him in a rousing rendition of their absolute banger of a hit, Take Me Out. The audience and my reaction at the time was ecstatic, and many are calling it the coolest surprise in Glastonbury history. Now, of course, he wasn't the first Doctor to appear at Glastonbury. Matt Smith joined Orbital a few years ago for a performance of their Doctor ? Song single. Rob's favourite Doctor, Shitty Gala, also appeared on Glastonbury that same weekend as Peter Capaldi, introducing that pop heavyweight, Jade Thirlwall, from Little Mix to a crowd of 10 people. Now, all they need to do is to get the Human League on stage and get them to sing Tom Baker... and get Tom Baker on the stage and help him to collaborate on that wonderful instrumental.
The KLF back.
Give him £1 million, I'll burn it again. So, he looked amazing that day. Pretty good performance. And Capaldi, I salute you, sir. The last of the great doctors. Now, my number 1 is very similar a little bit to yours, Rob, but this is what I'm calling the everything is fine, it would take a mountain to crush an ego like yours, still finding menace in your own shadows, you can't reheat a souffle award, goes to RTD, along with that production company, Bubble Wolf, who was gifted the ultimate platform through a massive corporate deal and partnership, but alas, instead of delivering he delivered a mouldy rehash of his 2005 blueprint, proving that even the biggest budget can't hide a recipe that has long since passed its expiration date. Not only did he cast one of the worst and uncommitted actors to the role ever, but as audience figures dropped away, he started to sound more like the former Iraqi information minister, Chemical Ali, by sprouting to the press quotes that sounded like he was denying that the US military had taken control of Baghdad airport when clearly it was happening in the background. I mean, listen to some of the commentary coming out of his mouth. Just should get Dave to do that excellent impression. Read those quotes out for me.
According to the people who juggle the numbers, all targets have been reached and exceeded. The BBC are running around like mad things. I was brought back to bring in a youthful audience. It's been massively successful.
The BBC then reward RTD the opportunity, in quotes, to script the 2026 Christmas special where he stated the plans left BBC bosses with jaws agape loving it. I believe not. And that is our Fanwank of the Year Awards. Yay!
So, that's been the Christmas 2025 special for the 42 to Doomsday podcast. Apparently our second podcast recording of the year.
Yay!
So I'd like to thank Richard and Dave. I'd like to thank Mark for being my co-host this year. We all wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We've got plans for next year, don't we?
We do. We actually recorded an episode in June, still in editing hell, but we're going to put that out in January. It's like a can of Spam, well preserved.
The lawyers might have finished with it by then. Or...
No, they still haven't, no.
So thanks once again for listening. I've been Rob.
I'm Richard.
And I'm Mark.
I've been Dave. Check out Spacefall. It's back.
And
Keep punching! Homo aquas in the balls.
fish don't have balls.
You've just listened to another episode of 42 to Doomsday, the podcast that loves talking about Doctor Who. We'd love to hear from our listeners. Please drop us a line at 42todoomsday@gmail.com. We can be reached at facebook.com/42 to Doomsday. If brevity is your game, we can be found on Twitter at 42 to Doomsday. Please check out our blog, 42todoomsday.wordpress.com, where Mark and I occasionally have something interesting to say. Aside from iTunes, you can listen to us via Stitcher and Player FM. If you enjoyed listening to us, leave a review on iTunes. As always, thank you for listening. Have a great week. We'll speak with you again soon.